Okay. So, dear participants, dear colleagues, we're genuinely delighted to welcome you to the TESOL Online Convention 2025. It's a privilege to bring together such a dynamic and inspiring network of educators, scholars, teachers, just enthusiasts from Ukraine, from across the globe. So let's come together to explore, to exchange, to share. This session is being coordinated by Kryvyi State Pedagogical University and Beketov National University of Urban Economy in Kharkiv. And please note that the session is being recorded. Check whether you are muted so that you will not distract speakers. And if you have some questions during or after presentations, you can share them in the chat. Now you can see that the list of our speakers today for this session, and let me introduce our first speaker. It is Kateryna Kovalchuk, an enthusiastic English teacher from communist Podilsky, Ukraine. Kateryna has been teaching since 2018 with a BA, Bachelor of Arts in English Language Education, and she specializes in working with children and teens, recently expanding to teach Ukrainian to adults. She fosters joyful, student-centered learning environments focused on support and engagement. So the topic of her presentation is the Hope Journal, a Teachers for Peace activity to inspire connection, confidence, and care. And this session introduces a trauma-informed, speaking-based activity used by Teachers for Peace, a global volunteer group supporting learners affected by war. So please, Kateryna, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, the Hope Journal, a gentle check-in for crisis-era classrooms. You can take a screenshot. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kateryna Kovalchuk, but my students just called me Kate. I'm a volunteer teacher with Teachers for Peace, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. I only joined Teachers for Peace earlier this year, but from my very first class, I felt it. This wasn't just a teaching platform, it was a community. So, what is Teachers for Peace? You can see photos from the lessons. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Teachers for Peace began in 2022, right after the full-scale war in Ukraine started. There was no big budget, no major organization, just one simple question from teacher to teacher: how can we help? The answer: keep the children busy, give them solving productive to concentrate on, help them feel safe. The spirit still guides us. Today, Teachers for Peace offers more than 10 free online classes a week, all taught by volunteers, teachers, artists, students, and helpers from around the world. We teach English, yes, but also reading, logic, art therapy, philosophy therapy, and emotional wellness. Our students come from Ukraine and other regions affected by crisis. Some are still in conflict zones. Some are displaced. Some are just looking for connection. And we show up not because we have to, but because we want to. We believe that even in hard times, education can be a place of healing. How I started using the Hope Journal. When I began teaching with Teachers for Peace, I wasn't sure where to start. How do you begin a class when your students are living through so much? So I added a small slide to the beginning of my lesson. It said, "How are you today?" Sometimes it showed colors, sometimes emojis, sometimes just a sleepy cat or a silly face. That simple slide opens the door. It let students check in without pressure, without needing the right words. Now I include a version of that check-in in every class. There's no fixed script. Each Teachers for Peace teacher does it their own way. But for me, this gentle routine, what we call the whole journal, has become a way to say, this space is for you. You're safe here. Let's try to do that now together. You can reflect however feels right in your notebook, in the chat, or turn on your mic, or just quietly in your heart. There are 3 prompts I often use. The first one is, what color is your day today? Think about your color of your day. For example, I think mine is purple today. What's something small that made you smile this week? It can be rest. Oh, I hear. Blue, orange, green, red. Oh, thank you. Your dog, that's great. And actually, I have 4 cats and 3 dogs, so I love it. Thank you for your answering. A snail on the lawn bathing in the rain. Oh, card game last Friday. Yeah, Teachers for Peace coming to Ukraine. Yeah. But I'm online today. Chocolate. Oh, I love chocolate. That's great. And these about past, and what about future? What's something you're looking forward to? There's no need to share unless you want to. This is the tone we use with our students too. It's not about correction or performance. It's about presence and permission. Peace, traveling, concert, vacation, TESOL convention. Oh, that's great. Traveling. Thank you so much. These check-ins may seem simple, but they make space for joy, for
Good day.
safety. Hello. Holidays. Good.
Kateryna, you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry. There's no need to share unless you want to. This is the tone we use with students. And it's not about correction or performance. It's about presence and permission. These check-ins may seem simple, but they make space for joy, for safety, for students to start feeling like themselves again. So why it matters? Some of our students have lost their homes, friends, family. Many are navigating trauma and uncertainty. They don't just need English practice. They need something gentle, something steady. The whole journal doesn't solve everything, but it gives students one soft moment where they can get to feel seen, and it reminds us as teachers that our presence is enough. Don't need to be perfect. We just need to show up with care. If this resonates with you, please know you're welcome to join us. we are always looking for teachers, helpers, listeners, people who care. Whether you teach once a week, once a month, or just want to be part of the team behind the scenes, there's a place for you at Teachers for Peace. And if you work with students affected by crisis, try adding one Hope Journal prompt to your next class. It doesn't have to be fancy, just kind. This isn't just about teaching, it's about connection. It's about believing that even in the dark times, there's still room for joy, learning, and hope. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for everything you do. And if you want, you can just Google Teachers for Peace. We have a lot of channels, like everywhere, in Instagram, in Facebook. Yeah, here. Our schedule. That's Facebook. We have Telegram. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kateryna. Thank you, you personally and other Teachers for Peace who are eager to support and help those who are in need, who suffered from the war. They were affected physically, both physically and psychologically. Thank you so much. These people are in need of our help and support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's go on. Our next speaker is Stuart Mattinson, an English lecturer at Ternopil Ivan Pudui National Technical University since 2019. Stuart has also taught in the UK and Australia. With BA in Applied Linguistics, he is passionate about languages and cultures and has been teaching since 2004. So the presentation is language clubs for English learning, and it highlights the value of language clubs in helping learners build confidence and use the target language in authentic and informal settings. So please welcome, the slide is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Olena, for having me. Thank you for including me to present. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, if I sound a bit different, it's because I am an Australian. So I'm not British, I'm not American or Canadian. There is another hemisphere, okay? And one feature of Australians, we tend to make jokes and use irony and sarcasm a lot. So please forgive me if I say something strange. It's probably because I'm an Australian. Okay. So yes, as mentioned, I will be talking about using language clubs for language learning. Okay, so let me share my screen and get set up. It's that one. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay, good. So, I've been working in Ukraine since 2019 more consistently, or at the university, but since 2018 consistently. And I've been teaching English since 2004, as mentioned. And I've noticed the significance of English clubs, or sorry, language clubs. It should not be reserved only for English. And some of the points that I'll make today will be similar to what has been mentioned in another section of our conference today by Liz or Elizabeth. Okay, there will be some crossover. Some of the points she made are the same as what I've got. Okay, now as Elizabeth mentioned, and as will I, language clubs outside the classroom are a vital tool to use. Okay, just a moment. I have to then advance my. There it is. Good. Yes, it works. There's a little bit about me. As has already been mentioned, I've taught in both schools and university level, and I run two clubs, both in Ternopil. One is at the university where I work, but the other one is a private club outside of an educational institute. Okay, so I run two. I do it in person. I'm not running any online clubs at this point in time. They are in person. People attend. Okay. Now, some of these benefits have been touched on before, but there is some extra. Um, the difference with an English club is it's not as structured as a classroom. Now, as many of you know, having taught, using of books and other teaching resources, it can be quite structured, which has its place. It definitely has its place, having a structure, whether for an English club or a lesson. Having a structure for the students to follow, examples, all of these sort of things obviously has its place. But the teaching resources can be limited despite having as many as are available, especially thanks to the internet. Okay. A language club allows students or allows the language learners to become comfortable using the language, to actually use what they have learnt in a classroom, hopefully adapting from a structured dialogue which they've learnt in a classroom to actually moving to dynamic use. Now, I've made one example, or I'll give you one example. A friend of mine from Kiev came to me once. We were going out for the day, but when he came to me to meet me, he greeted me with, "Good morning. My name is Mrs. Brown. I have an appointment." Now, this sounded very strange to me. It made no sense because his name was not Mrs. Brown and he wasn't coming because he had an appointment. But he was using the structures that he'd learned. So I asked him, "Is your name Mrs. Brown?" And he said, "No." So I said, "What is your name?" "Well, my name is Sasha." "Okay, good. Do you have an appointment?" "No." So I'm helping him move from a structured language form from a classroom to a dynamic use in personal interaction. Okay, now that is quite an extreme example. I don't know if any of you have had that situation, but in another time and place, some people might laugh at such a thing. I didn't. I thought it was the most beneficial to move him from one point to another. This is where language clubs come into play. They become comfortable in using real language. The other advantage is mistakes are allowed, and Elizabeth covered this in hers. It's okay if they get it wrong. You can correct pronunciation or any other grammar mistakes, but let them speak naturally. Let them make their mistakes. I have had experience in Ukraine, or not experience, I've heard students tell me that teachers have either heavily criticized mistakes or, in my opinion, worse, laugh at students when they make a mistake. This can cause a student to shut down. They don't want to be involved or interact in a class where they get laughed at or heavily criticized. And a language club allows them just to use their language to the best of their ability. If they're at A2 level, let them be at A2 level. As their confidence builds, so will their competence. They will become more proficient. The other benefit of a language club is you throw in cultural aspects into language learning. Now, students have told me one of the hardest parts of learning a language is dealing with humor, idioms and slang, and cultural references. they really struggle with those. And these are things that are not always included in a classroom setting. Students don't learn slang. They may learn idioms, yet if they are exposed to native speakers use a lot of slang, idioms, and cultural references. If these are included in a speaking club, a language speaking club, these things can be included in students' education. The cultural references, also other activities. Okay, so there we go. A, a speaking club or language club can include access to native speakers. Now, we've heard today that can be done online or personal visits. Now, personal visits can be a little harder. As a native speaker, people have access to me to practice their language, but I also use other resources. Um, I frequently visit volunteers in Ukraine from English-speaking countries. Some of them are military, some of them are humanitarian. And they're walking around the streets, going shopping, doing different things in Ternopil. I meet them and I will invite them to one of my English clubs, and a lot of them graciously accept. And it's just one visit. But this is an opportunity that at least students in Ukraine would not have very easily. Now, in other parts of Ukraine, that may not be possible as easily. In other parts of the world, it is definitely more possible to find a native speaker to visit the club at least once. Okay. They, the native speakers can present aspects of culture and language, and they can explain things that perhaps their teacher can't. So having access to native speakers can be a great thing, online or in person. The other thing that speaking clubs can provide is activities. The clubs that I run, one of them, we go on a picnic, not just one. In summer, when the weather's nice, we will go for a picnic in our city. We might go to the beach. We just spend time together socially over food. Now, in many cultures, sharing food or sharing a meal contributes to relationship building and social cohesion. So doing these sort of things is really good. In summer, if the weather's hot, you go out for ice cream. Okay. There are various activities that can be done that incorporate both language use and cultural aspects. In many English speaking countries, for example, going out to a barbecue is very typical. America, Australia, New Zealand, they frequently go out and have barbecues. Picnics are common in warmer months. This is part of the culture, interacting in such an environment. So, language clubs can provide an opportunity for cultural aspects of language learning, using the language in a cultural context. Another one I've done, it wasn't reserved exclusively for a language club. It was extended. I did a dance. I organized and coordinated a dancing event. Now, for those, I believe Elizabeth, if she's still here, she would recognize the term square dance or barn dance. Has anybody heard the term barn dance or bush dance or square dance? Has anyone heard that term?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
That
So,
Elizabeth.
okay. Yeah. So I actually ran one of those a year or two ago. Or sorry, maybe I should say before the full invasion. And we had about 30 people. And the feedback I got from it was amazing. I also included other things, other activities to do. And a lot of the people said it was an amazing evening and they want me to do another one. Uh, so having cultural events, activities, social gatherings that are not exclusively for language learning purposes but learning about the culture of the language you're trying to teach, a language club can be invaluable. Okay. How is this done? Okay. One of the ways is games. Now you can use language games such as Scrabble or Boggle, if you've heard them. Also, we heard today of online games. So Kahoot, Bamboozle, and others like that. You can use language games. The other ones, card games. In Ukraine, in some circles, card games have a negative stigma. Cards are used for gambling or they're used for fortune telling. And there are some people who don't want to use card games. But in English speaking cultures, card games are common. So introducing that as a cultural aspect, as well as board games. In my clubs, we've played uh, Clue or Cluedo, if you know that game, um, as well as card games such as Phase 10, Uno, various things like that. Because in English speaking cultures, card games and board games are a common cultural feature. Additionally, movies and TV programs. Yes, they allow exposure to the language of native speakers, but they also do something else. They introduce slang words, idioms, and cultural references. Now, this is something that language learners need. If they go to the country where the language is spoken, when they're confronted with idioms and cultural references, they can be lost because they don't know how the cultural references are included. If I give the example, I'll actually ask Elizabeth this one. The sitcom The Nanny. Have you seen it?
Yes, the nanny.
Yep, the comedy in that is so full of cultural references, even other native speakers don't understand them. And so, as the example there, The Nanny makes a reference to the Kennedy family. Well, that had a reaction in that series that I can't relate to. I don't understand the cultural reference of the Kennedys. I know who John F. Kennedy was. But the Kennedy family has a particular reference in American culture that on me as an Australian is lost. I don't understand the comedy that goes with it. So watching movies, videos, and so on exposes language learners to those references that can contribute to a student's learning. Okay, not just the language, cultural references. And as I've mentioned, picnics, barbecues, beach visits, all of these things are part of the culture of the language being learned. Now, if you have a language club with French, you would use activities connected with French culture. When I studied German in school, our teacher organized a German meal where we all had to cook German food and bring it to the event. And our teacher wore German traditional clothing. So this is a cultural aspect, teaching the students culture as much as the language and how the language fits into that. Language clubs provide the opportunity for these things that is not always available inside the language classroom. Okay, now that's the end of my presentation. Are there any questions? I can take questions for a moment. Otherwise, I can finish it there.
Probably some participants need some time to ponder over.
Or my English was just lost on them.
No.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Stuart, to mention culture, because the language is embodiment of culture, history, everything. traditions connected to a particular nation and country, and language is a vivid example of everything that you have mentioned, of all these elements, and it is a perfect thing to be applied in a classroom, in communication, to learn more, not about the language, but about the culture and country. Thank you so much for captivating presentation and information. Thank you so much.
Sorry,
Thank you for
I
having
have
me.
a question for you, if
Yep.
I still have time to ask. The question is, I was thinking about slang and teaching the slang, and the thing is, idioms are more or less fixed in the language, right? But slang could change like every year or every 2 years. How to keep up with the changes so the students won't sound like, you know, this meme with Steve Buscemi about how do you do fellow kids, because they would learn some kind of outdated and then they will have to learn some more. So how you keep the balance? Because it's really an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, that is a great question, Olga. And this is where use of TV shows, videos, and movies can come in. As movies are released, they would have modern slang and idioms in them. However, they can still require explaining. If I use a Ukrainian reference, if I may, as a foreigner, I can no longer hear the phrase in 3 days without laughing. Okay? Because I'm not translating it, but it has meaning for me that it does not have to other English speakers. You know, someone says, "Oh yeah, we'll have it done in 3 days," and I go, "Aha," because it is now an idiom from Ukrainian culture that is part of my experience. I can't separate it anymore. Okay, that is a new one. That is a very new idiom in Ukraine. So being exposed to modern media, TV shows, movies, and videos, that is probably one of the best ways to keep up with modern slang and idioms. I hope you find that answer helpful, Orha.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Stuart. Let's move on with our next speaker. It's Olena Rumyantseva, a PhD holder and associate professor at Odessa Mechnikov National University, Ukraine. She trains subject teachers and English medium instructor to help them achieve B2 level proficiency and deliver lectures in English to international students. And the presentation, Teaching Strategies, How to Deliver a Successful PhD Master's Thesis Presentation, it outlines a 6-stage approach to preparing students for thesis presentations, and it focuses on developing academic skills such as critical thinking, thematic anticipation, video analysis, visual design, presentation structure, etc. So please, dear Olena, you're welcome.
Thank you, dear colleagues, for inviting me to participate in this interesting and fruitful, I believe it will be beneficial for everyone, event. I would like to discuss the problem of PhD thesis and master's degree students' presentation during their defense, as well as at the conferences. Because presently we still face the problem when our students, even after studying at bachelor's degree level, they take and even conducting the original research, they take the text from the written text and place the extract of this text on the slides and then read. They start reading from the slides. For this purpose, we have created several modules in the framework of academic writing. And today, yes, I would like to just to do this presentation really interactive because I'm interested in the opinion of my colleagues, how they try to solve the similar problems if they have these problems, of course. So I can share my screen, right? We start with the stage 1, where we try to develop critical thinking of our PhDs and our master's degree students through evaluation tasks, and we try to fish out the information about their knowledge concerning the presentation. For this purpose, we give them the following tasks. First of all, we offer them the guidelines for delivering a good presentation, and offer to analyze the options and tell us what stages or options they consider should be just taken into consideration during the delivery process, or these options are directly connected with the preparation stage. Just now, dear colleagues, can you please play the role of students for a moment and participate in this activity? So the first option, you should know your audience. Who are they and why are they there? So what's your idea concerning this option? Is it preparation, or is it connected with or related with preparation or delivery process? Well, will you please write in our chat if it is possible? Well, then at the next stage, we try to develop their prediction skills. We demonstrate, just a moment. Well, we demonstrate the first slide of the presentation with the title Determinants of Physical Activity Among the General Public, for example, and we offer the participants to predict the content of the presentation. Or first of all, we ask them what subject area this presentation can be connected with. Again, dear colleagues, so I'm waiting for your answers in the chat. Well, just now we are discussing the first slide of the academic presentation, and I offer you to give your predictions concerning the subject area of this presentation: physical activity among the general public and determinants. Well, I believe you are thinking, yeah, healthcare, yeah, thank you, Olga, for your prediction. Yeah, can it be connected with the psychology as well, or sociology? Is it possible? Then just now I demonstrate the next slides, and also you should, or our students should analyze the visual. So usually visuals are the parts of the results section where the PhDs or master's degree students provide the results of their research by means of different diagrams, tables. But here you can see that the master's degree student included this photo in his presentation. And what is the purpose of this photo? Can we define the approximate age of this person and the connection between his lifestyle and, well, I will enlarge the image. Well, any ideas? How old is this man? Well, no ideas. Okay. Well, in his 40s, yeah, in his 50s or 60s, maybe. Oh, well, and just now, dear colleagues, will you please look at the slide number 3 and
Так, в посылание есть в чате.
well, yeah, about 40, yeah, I've read. Thank you. Just now, will you please look at the slide number 3 and analyze the some potential barriers as well as the reasons for maintaining an active lifestyle. And I offer you to add the information. What are your own reasons for maintaining an active lifestyle? Can you add some options? Both positive and negative aspects. Well, Alexander, I can see your hand. Can you please answer?
Yes, I can. I think that if adding a positive benefit of maintaining an active lifestyle, it would also be a psychological benefit because a good health is connected to our psychological and mental health because people with good activity and with good like healthy lifestyle tend to be less less like they suffer less from stress and some depression or emotional problems than people who have an unhealthy lifestyle. And if you like potential barriers to an actual lifestyle would also be like social pressure because not in every culture a healthy lifestyle is like mainstreamed because in some cultures being unhealthy means being wealthy and people tend to eat more and move less because it's their cultural sign of wealth and well-being.
Well, Olga, you have your own opinion. Will you
Yeah,
please?
I want to add some points. First of all, for positive things, it's about developing of character, because it helps you strengthen your positive sides of character, things like determination, resilience, and all these things, And about negative ones, I want to speak about such thing as body shaming, when you don't look, as as in shape as other people take an active style. You could be laughed at, you could be looked like, what are you doing here? And unfortunately, it's a great factor. You know, a lot of scandals with such things, even nowadays, yeah.
Okay, dear colleagues, thank you for sharing your experience. And just now, I would like to move towards the next section. It is video-based analysis, where we usually demonstrate the video of the master's degree thesis or PhD thesis defense. And we ask our students to analyze and also to elicit positive and negative features or aspects of this presentation and give some recommendations how they can improve or how they could recommend to improve this presentation. Just now, I will demonstrate it to you. Here it is.
Good afternoon. The subject of today's presentation is the determinants for people doing physical activity, which are important for health professionals to understand, as they may increase likelihood of adhering to or avoiding physical activity in their daily lives. These factors can be categorized into two main groups: reasons for being active and barriers to an active lifestyle. We can see that the first reason for being active includes good health, a reduction in stress, and social benefits like meeting people and extending your social network. It also helps with managing your weight, and of course, for many people, it offers fun and enjoyment.
Well, exactly at this point, we ask our students to assess the performance during the presentation, to assess both the design of the slides, but I have demonstrated the slides previously, as well as the presentation, both verbal and non-verbal behavior of the speaker. So, dear colleagues, can you please give your opinion about positive and negative aspects of this presentation? Just, I understand it's only the beginning, the introduction, but nevertheless, probably you have some
Okay,
insights.
but it could be a long talk, you know. So first of all, let's start with some, you know, some physical parameters, let's call them like that. First of all, the things that I noticed, the position where he stands, he's covering the board behind him. So I think people couldn't see it. He could think about where to stand. Then he's moving all the time. And it's not the type of gesture that you want. Like gesturing is fine, but moving around or moving with your body is not a good thing, because it looks like he wants to run and he really is very nervous. This is another thing. I see it on his face, because his face is very tense. His brows are going, you know, into the middle of the face somehow. And of course, nervousness is not something you could cope easily, but maybe like training with other people or using mirrors, you know, recording yourself, things like that. Maybe he didn't do it properly before. And again, about the posture, he's holding the paper. He's holding it very close to him. Even if he wants some kind of an assistance, visual help, he could find the place to put it, or to hold it at least not, you know, near his face, because we can't see the face at all. It looks like he's reading a newspaper in you know, in a tram in the morning. So of course it shows that the person is not very sure what he's doing, definitely. And it's it has a bit impression on the whole presentation. He may have great information, but such delivery, and he's reading, yeah, he's trying to take his eyes off. I see it all the time, but for him, maybe he's just not ready enough. He hasn't prepared for speaking. So these are the main problems that I can see.
Well, thank you. And after that, we demonstrate the same presentation, but which is delivered quite differently. So, dear colleagues, I believe that I will attach and send these two types of presentation, but because the most important thing is following. After that, we deliver the structure of academic presentation and discuss each slide with our students. Just a moment, I will demonstrate the slides to you. Oh, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
The first slide is so I wonder, here it is, just a moment, dear colleagues. Well, the first slide is dedicated to the essential initial elements which should be placed on it. The title of master's thesis, the first name and surname of the presenter, also the affiliation of the presenter, and the name and surname of the scientific supervisor, including the title of the scientific supervisor. Then the next slide is dedicated to the outline. Just a moment. It is the outline of the presentation. The academic presentation has the standard structure, and we ask our students to follow this structure, starting with the introduction section, which includes the first of all the theoretical background. The students should write annotated bibliography consisting of approximately 10 sources. Yes, of course, they can analyze more sources, including dissertation, monographs, research papers, but they should present during the final assessment at least 10 sources, giving their own opinion how this information can be useful for their own research. Then they are asked to formulate the gap, the lack of information which they have found to manage, and only after that they formulate the tasks for the purpose and the tasks for their own research. Well, then just a moment. I try to switch to the next slide. Then during the next session, during the presentation, we demonstrate then the next slide, which is dedicated to the methods, and we discuss what methods can be used and are really useful for their research. We deal with the students of different specialisms, and it is really difficult, sometimes it is really difficult for them to formulate the methods. That's why, for this purpose, we use the so-called peer consultancy, where their group mates are offered to help them with the formulation of the methods and with the analysis. Our PhD students are subdivided into different groups in accordance with their specialisms. I mean interdisciplinary areas. For example, the group of the students of exact sciences, IT technologists, mathematicians, the students from the related faculties, they can work together, as well as we try to assess them in the same way. Because you see, the English teacher cannot analyze properly the material presented in academic presentation. I mean, the formulation of the hypothesis, for example, in mathematics or in IT or in chemistry. Also, a lot of other aspects, but nevertheless, the students help each other. We use the assessment, which is subdivided into 3 stages. First of all, it is peer assessment after the presentation. I mean, when the peers, they assess the scientific and academic content of the presentation. Then self-assessment is also very important because the PhD student can understand and analyze the goods, the positive and negative parts of the presentation. And finally, it is teacher's assessment. The final assessment is the average score of these 3 stages. I would like, dear colleagues, I would like you to share your own experience concerning if you deal and if you require your master's degree students or PhD students to deliver their presentations in English. I would like to hear your recommendations and advice how you do that, and what type of assessment do you use? Well, the colleagues are silent. Because you see, it is a real problem to assess the not only design of the slides, not only the content of the academic presentation, but also the innovations, the topicality, the actuality, which is provided by the young scientist. Well, it is a challenging problem, and I would like just probably to share the experience, some pedagogical insights with the other colleagues, and I would like to hear their own opinion concerning this problem. It would be very beneficial, I believe, for all of us. Well,
I suppose, may I start? I suppose this is a complex of different approaches, and something that you have shared will contribute for sure for my colleagues and just teachers who are working with young scholars and educators to apply it into our practice. But usually the most crucial things are structure. Firstly, initially the structure. So everything should be quite logical. And of course, if this paper is more about practice, about some practical issues, so there should be quite vivid examples, and something urgent should be introduced. And of course, visuals matter for sure. And Pani Olena has mentioned it already. So I suppose it is a really difficult, probably, question, and really general, probably.
Yeah, the academic presentations, they have the definite structure without any doubt. And this structure is precise and standard, but nevertheless, the problem is the problem for English teacher assess just the topicality, the actuality, and the results. And for this purpose, we use just use in quotes, of course, we offer the the peer students to because they are specialists, they are professionals in this area, assess their colleagues and give their recommendations. They even understand the better, they even understand the peculiarities of this scientific presentation better than the English teacher, and they are able to give some constructive feedback to this presentation. That's why, let me repeat it again, we use just a kind of summative assessment where we add the just the score of 3 types. The score which was given by the peer students, then self-assessment, and finally the teacher's opinion. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So probably some participants, our colleagues, if you have any questions, you can share them in the chat. And unfortunately, our time is up. And I would like to share and just remind you about session 4 you're going to have at 2 p.m. as far as I know. So here you can see the number of speakers you are going to have with their introduction of their presentations. And here is the link to Zoom meeting, and I will share it in our chat. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for our speakers for gripping and captivating presentations. Have a nice, productive, inspiring, and peaceful day. And I will share the link to the next session. So have a nice day. Goodbye.